to start doing stand-up comedy, you're going to need some jokes, you're going to need a performance stage, and you're going to need to record yourself so that you can improve. In this video, we're going to cover all those 3 steps to help you get started with stand-up comedy. Welcome to the video. My name is Markus. I'm a stand-up comedian, and I have done way over 200 shows of stand-up comedy from San Francisco, Chicago to New York, all across Europe. I performed in Kenya, in Tokyo, in Shanghai. And that also means that I've seen a lot of people start their stand-up comedy careers. So in this video, you're going to be able to know what those first steps are. The first step, if you want to become a stand-up comedian, is simply to go to an open mic comedy show. Just as a visitor, just to see kind of how it works. Because that is, for most people, the way that you're going to start your stand-up comedy career is to start to do an open mic show. Now, what is an open mic show? Note, by the way, that I say specifically here an open mic comedy show. There are other types of open mics out there, for example, for musicians, or it could be a mixed mic where you can do magic or music or poetry or whatever. But I really recommend that you go to a pure comedy open mic. An open mic show is a chance, it gives basically anybody a chance to get on stage in a comedy club environment and try to do stand-up comedy either for the first time. It's a chance for experienced comedians to try new jokes or to work on their old jokes. And it's also a way for more experienced comedians to just polish bits that they already know they work, or to record themselves. So an open mic show is a great place to start, and you're gonna get comedians of all different levels. I'm going to have a quick look at my notes here because I have lots of information that I want to share with you today about the open mic experience. You are going to be able to find a comedy open mic in most big cities. Just put that into Google or put that into Facebook. You can follow some Instagram accounts. And open mics are usually very friendly and welcoming atmosphere. However, there is a big difference between comedy open mic shows in the United States and comedy open mic shows in Europe. And the main difference is that a US open mic typically does not have an actual audience. The other people who are in the show in the US are usually just other comedians. It is fairly rare that you will get an actual audience. And this is especially the case in bigger markets like San Francisco or New York. Don't be surprised by this, but just be ready for it. And especially if you're coming from a European background, this is going to shock you, but don't let it. A European open mic, however, usually has an audience. So you could have 10, 20, 50, 100 people at an open mic if you're performing somewhere in Europe. Typically, the biggest markets in the world, like let's say New York, for example, you can choose from 20 different open mics in the same city on the same day, whereas a smaller market might only have, let's say, 3 shows per week. So that's also the reason why there might not be an audience for everybody. I'm going to go back to the notes here. There's another oddity with open mic shows in the US. No, I'm going to take that back. There's another oddity with open mic shows specifically in New York. You may actually have to pay $3 or $5 or $7 to be able to perform on that open mic. I've never seen that anywhere else outside of New York. You should expect that no money is exchanging hands in a typical European open mic. You might get a free drink. That's at least what you get at my shows. But usually you're there to practice. And if you have any questions, definitely put them in the chat as we go along. When you perform at an open mic show, the order is going to vary by show. A lot of the typical American open mic experience is that there's a list at the bar. Let's say that there's a list goes out at 6:30, show starts at 7, and you can put your name next to a number. If you put your name next to number 3, you're going to be third in the lineup. Some shows the order is going to be drawn randomly, so you don't know it, and sometimes the order of the performance will also change. So the recommendation that I have for you here is to make sure that you go to an open mic show before you actually perform, so that you get familiar with the system. The way it works in many European shows is that you sign up not on the day, but rather a couple of weeks in advance. And that one way to sign up is, for example, on a Facebook event. I'm actually going to show you a quick example of that from my own open mic show. Let's switch over to, actually, let's do it like that. So I'm going to show you one of my, let's put that full screen actually. So this is the open mic show that I ran yesterday. And you can see here that that was August 13th. And if you go to the About section, there's a clear instruction right here that says if you want to sign up to perform, just request a spot in the discussion section of this page. And you just click on the discussion there. And once the page loads, you can see that that's actually the final lineup. I posted the final lineup there. And then you can see that all these people have requested a spot. Jessamine there, Teddy there, and Albert there, for example. So that's a way to request a spot in many places. Other places, like if you have to pay for it, you might have to buy like a ticket through Eventbrite, for example, to get a spot. So my recommendation really here under step number 1 is to just go and check out how the show works so that you're prepared for actually going on stage next time or the time after that. Next, the next tip is so the order is going to vary depending on the show. Just make sure that you understand how the ordering system works. Make also once when you're there observing the show, just as an audience member, you're probably going to be the only audience member if you're in the US. Also make sure to understand how the system works in terms of communicating that your time is up. Typically, the host will show a light when you have 1 minute left, but it could also be 30 seconds left or some other combination. So pay attention to how the end of your time is being communicated as well. It could also be a little dong, not a dong, but a little gong that they play, for example. The other, as this is the first step in starting stand-up comedy, it's also a good opportunity for you to talk to the organizers after the show. Don't talk to them before the show because they might be stressed with the organization. Talk to them after the show or in the break. Just to talk to them a little bit how the show works, when is the next one, how do I sign up? It's a good idea to make a connection with the organizers so that you come back the next day or the next week, whenever the next show is. And it's also, hopefully you will also give a good impression. So really going to the first show as an audience member to understand how it works is going to be really beneficial. And it will also help you come up with material for jokes, because that's actually what we're going to talk about in the next block. Pay attention to what people are talking about, what kind of topics gets laughs and what kind of topics do not, for example. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. The next step, we're going to move over to, soon we're going to do the next step, but today's stream is actually sponsored. It's not sponsored at all. It's my course. It's my course. Comedy for Beginners is my course on how you can learn stand-up comedy for beginners. So it's not sponsored. It's just my course. You can buy it on with that address there, comedyforbeginners.com. And it'll give you a description of all the video content that is on there. It covers how to behave in a comedy club, how to behave on stage, how to write jokes, and some other tips and tricks as well. Also things that will help you see some potential of doing comedy for the rest of your kind of career and other pursuits. Step number 2 is, of course, to write the jokes. So you have been to the comedy club, you've been to the open mic, you kind of see how it works, and the next step is to write your jokes. And one key idea here that I want to bring across is that when you go on stage, when you actually perform, bring jokes, not ideas. And this is something that, because I've seen probably hundreds of comedians doing their first set, sometimes what happens is that people go up completely unprepared. Don't do that. Some people, particularly young men, often come up with this idea, I'm pretty funny, I can just wing it. Don't wing it. This is not the place for winging it. This is not an improv show. It's a comedy show, so you should write your jokes and prepare your set very well. If you are super inclined to go up on the first night when you're there and you have no material, just chill, just wait, and go up the next night instead. with your jokes. So bring jokes, not ideas. And especially if your attitude is that, oh, I have so many interesting stories in my life. That's good. It's good that you have interesting stories, but you're going to need some time to actually turn them into. They don't have to be ready jokes, but at least there has to be some thought behind it. We're going to cover some things to do and not to do also when you're coming up with joke ideas. I'm looking back at my notes here. Come prepared is definitely an important point there. So one way to come up with joke ideas that is a really great place to start is to think of that time you were an idiot and tell that story on stage. That is a great place to mine ideas for funny jokes and funny stories, because when you were an idiot, something went wrong. That is usually a great place for humor. Note that the tip there is think of that time you were an idiot. And the key point in this piece of advice is that it should be about you. When you're starting out, do not make fun of other people. All right? You are much safer to make fun of yourself first. And when you do make fun of yourself, you kind of get yourself the license to make fun of other people later on as well. So start by making fun of yourself and tell a funny story. Now, of course, because you've gone to the first open mic, you kind of got an idea what are the topics, so you can definitely take some lessons there. If at some point in the future you are going to make fun of yourself, remember that there is an important rule in comedy, that is to always punch up. If you're going to be making fun of other people or other groups, make sure that they are kind of above you in the status hierarchy. That's why it's okay to make fun of, let's say, politicians and celebrities because they're kind of high status, but do not make fun of people, let's say, with disabilities or disadvantaged racial groups or whatever it is. That's not the right place, because then you're punching down, and you shouldn't do that. That's not funny. It will just come across as mean. You don't want to be mean. You want to be funny. You want to have the people on your side. So that time you were an idiot is a pretty good place to start. There are some common topics that we see in stand-up comedy that work pretty well. And I have a little list of them. Let me read off the list. So if you go to that first open mic, you will probably hear jokes about sex, dating and relationships, about drugs. You know, comedians love to talk about weed. You might hear jokes about kind of nationalities or racial stuff, or this is especially the case in the US. There's a lot of racial jokes. In the UK, for example, there is a lot of class-based jokes, kind of working class versus middle class. That's a typical kind of UK thing, whereas US is more based on races. But it could also be, especially in Europe, where all the countries are so close and they have strong feelings about the nationalities. That's a pretty common place to start making jokes, especially if you make fun of your own nationality first. And then the last point on that, that's the last point on the typical list of jokes. So I'm not saying that you should make jokes about those topics, but they are kind of an easy place to start. And if it's like, usually sex jokes work because it's a little bit embarrassing, it's a little bit funny. So it's a good place to start, but I recommend that you don't get stuck there. So try to get off of the dick jokes in a little bit, but it's not a bad place to start. This is especially a piece of advice for women comedians. There is often the temptation of sticking to the sex and dating and relationships kind of material, because it usually works. But you are kind of boxing yourself in, especially if you're doing this as a woman comedian, that you're only talking about these things. And that can work. Of course it can work. But I think it's good if you can broaden your topics as well. And we do need more women comedians in the on the comedy stage, especially around here. It's a lot of it's a very white male dominated field. So we definitely need other genders, other ethnicities on the comedy stage as well. Next. So those 4 topics, sex, dating, drugs, and nationalities, those are kind of well-trodden paths, which are fairly safe, so long as you make fun of yourself. But the better piece of advice is to talk about nerdy topics. If you have some interest that other people don't, or if you have some interest that other people have never heard about, or that they just find interesting because it's so weird, talk about that. And my favorite example from my own material is that I love roller coasters. I'm a roller coaster enthusiast. I've ridden more than 175 roller coasters all over the world. And that is already on its face interesting, because people have never met a roller coaster enthusiast before. So, and they want to learn more about it, and then you can also make jokes about, you know, how that impacts your life. So I have a lot of material about that. But that could be, I have another couple of examples here. One of the performers here in our community, she works as a stripper. So she tells us on stage what it's like working as a stripper. Once again, we don't know a lot of strippers, so it's very interesting to hear her stories about working in the strip club or working in burlesque. So these nerdy topics that are niche are super valuable for comedy, merely because they're interesting and different, and we haven't heard it before. Another example is we have somebody in our community who's from Iceland. Most people have never met anybody from Iceland, or at least they don't know too much about Iceland. So that's an interesting topic, and he can teach us about Iceland, but it's also funny. And the last example in the nerdy topics that I have here is another one of mine. You may or may not know that I am an Amazon influencer. So I talk about products on Amazon.com, and I put videos on there, and when people buy the products, I get a commission. So I have 150 or so videos about different products. For example, I might talk about this tripod here, and then when somebody buys the tripod, I get a commission. So that is also an interesting theme, that people have probably never met an Amazon influencer before. So telling stories from that is a really good tip as well. So the main two strategies that I want to highlight there is, you know, you can try the well-trodden path, or you can try something super nerdy. Both of those approaches can be really, really interesting. Next, we are going to talk about so the main idea here is that, you know, write some jokes, right? Make sure to really write them. They don't have to be perfect and they don't have to be finished, but you do need to prepare a little bit. And that's something that I cover in my course as well. Link in the description, how to use afterthoughts to build on your stories. So do come with jokes, not ideas. The next step is going to be to perform and to record your set. And these are both equally important. You do need to record yourself, and I'm going to tell you a little bit why. But let's start with the performing part. So you went to that open mic, maybe you sign up for that one, maybe you sign up for another one in your city, and just sign up and get ready to perform on the day. Make sure that you arrive early so that you understand exactly how everything works. For example, is the order going to be random? How are they going to call you up? Some shows that I've seen, there is no MC, but the previous comedian introduces the next comedian, for example. If you're ready, if you're not ready for that, that can be very confusing. That was a show in Shanghai, by the way. I saw that. So sign up on the day and arrive early to get comfortable. If you I would recommend that you also test the microphone if you're able to. If you have never used a handheld microphone, for example, it can be a really good idea to just test it so that you get comfortable with it. Actually, shall we do a live demo? Let's do a live demo. I'm going to detach my microphone here a little bit and just take it out of the stand, push out the stand. So a handheld microphone, it can be a little bit intimidating, but the most important thing with a handheld microphone is that it should be pointed at your mouth. You can hold it down here, it will still work. You can hold it up here, it will still work, but now the volume is a little bit too high, so I'm going to speak a little bit softer. But the other thing you can do, you can also hold it to the side. Now, so long as it's pointing at your mouth, you can basically hold it wherever. So the problem, the wrong place to hold it is like this. Like if it's not pointing at your mouth, you're not able to hear me anymore. So I'm pointing at your mouth and you'll be good to go. If all else fails, and if you want to be super safe, just put it against your chin like that. Just physically put it against your chin. Now, if you move around, it's going to come with you. But I'm going to put this one back in the mic stand to go on to the next point. All right. That's my Elgato Wave mic arm. More info on my Amazon page, incidentally. So you have signed up and now you're ready to perform. You understand how the system works there. So just go up there and do your best. And you will get some laughs, probably. You will probably do some jokes that will not get any laughs, and it's all okay. It's an open mic show. There are no stakes. There are no costs. There are no costs of failure. And if the MC knows that it's your first time, you may want to have them say that, because that will probably give you a little bit extra support from the audience members, especially if they are real audience members. Let's adjust that mic a little bit. There we go. So go up there and do your best, and you will get some kind of reaction, and you can learn from that reaction. One thing that you should be aware of is that there's usually 1 or 2 spotlights directly facing you, like they're directed at your face, and those lights are going to be very, very bright. Most, maybe not most, but a lot of comedians, when they do their first set, their first line out of their mouth is unfortunately going to be something like, "Oh, those lights are bright." Don't say that. If you have the opportunity to go on stage before the show starts, do that, and don't be surprised by it, because you should start with a good joke. The typical advice is to start with your second best joke, put your best joke at the end, and then put everything else in between. So start with high confidence and don't comment on the light. Do not ask, "Is the mic working?" Also, do not ask, "How are you guys doing today?" Don't do that, because the audience will not know if they should reply. They don't know how they will reply, and especially if 5 other comedians have already asked that question on the night. Don't do it. Just start with your joke. Just start. So remember the point here, step number 3 is to perform and record. And these are important. By the way, I use the word set here, and a set is just, let's say that you're doing 5 minutes, that your 5-minute set. They're the series of jokes that you're going to be doing. And you might have one set in the future when you develop, you might have one set about dating, one set about roller coasters, one set about Amazon influencer, for example. So that's what I mean with set there. Anyway, so record your set is very important, because when you have finished with your performance, your memory of how that went is crap. Without a recording, you won't actually know how well it went, unless you get a standing ovation, which never happens. So it's really important that you record your set live. One way to do it, by the way, is just to pick up your phone and just record it on the voice memo app on your phone. That is the bare minimum you should do, because what you're going to be recording is both your own performance, but perhaps more importantly, the reaction of the audience. A much better way, of course, is to record video. Once again, use your phone. And for this, let me have a quick look here. Actually, I have a couple of objects here on my desk to help you record. And when I started doing comedy, I got myself a little phone tripod like this. This is the JOBY GripTight ONE. There's a link to it in the description below the video. And the way that works is that, okay, let's do it like that. And the microphone is in my way. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna change the orientation of the microphone. I'm gonna do it like that. Let's see if I think you can still hear me if I do that. All right. So I got a little. I lost my phone. Okay, so I got a little phone tripod like that, and basically how it works is that you just pop the phone in there, and then these legs come out like this, and you can place this on a bar stool, on a bar, on a table, and just record your set from your phone. And this little mini tripod is a solid option. This is the one that I had, I think, for maybe 5 or 6 years, I think. It's a decent tripod. It's cheap, but one of these legs has actually become loose, so it won't last forever. But the cool thing about these legs is they all bend, so you can place them on uneven surfaces, and you can even use them to grab, for example, the back of a chair. If you don't find a table, grab the back of a chair with this. So this is linked in the description. So that's the first tripod I used, and the video quality is probably not going to be excellent. The audio quality is not going to be excellent, but at least you will have a video. And we're going to talk a little bit later on what to do with the video. Let's remove this. Actually, no, I'm going to do that now, because otherwise I'll forget. So a lot of people, when they do their first comedy open mic set, they want to post it on YouTube or Facebook or something like that. Don't do that, at least not publicly. There is a lot of energy and enthusiasm after your first set, and you might, change your title to comedian or something like that. But your first set is going to be one of your worst on some levels. So it's not something that you actually want to publish, because it's going to be there to haunt you in the future. You can, if you want to put it on YouTube, you can put it as unlisted and then just send the link to your friends, for example. That you can do, but don't make it public. Anyway, so we're still talking about recording here. And the other recommendation that I have for you, actually, so here's the point. I lost my train of thought there. So this was the tripod that I used for many years, the JOBY GripTight ONE, but this is the tripod that I use these days. So this is also linked in the video description. This is the Ulanzi MT-34. And this is a little, it opens up like that. It's a tabletop tripod, but you can also extend it in multiple different segments like that. You can actually extend it to like 80 centimeters, if I remember correctly. So you can put this on a table, potentially even on the floor. You can put it on a chair and then record your set from there. And it has a built-in, so on there, you could mount a camera or a microphone or something like a light, but it also has a built-in phone clamp. So you can just lift that up like that, and then you can pop your phone. You can put your phone in there, and now you can use this to record. So, and then it has a ball head there, which means that you can freely adjust the angle. It's a really nice tripod. It's lightweight. It comes with me everywhere. This has been one of my favorite comedy tools. But the other thing that's on there, there's a little cold shoe mount. Let's put that up to the camera. Let's see if we can get this to focus. There's a little cold shoe mount, and what that means is that you can mount things on there. You can mount a light or a microphone, and that's actually really important because that's the next product that I'm going to recommend. But you know, the phone audio is going to be okay. It's going to be fine. Actually, I'm going to play you a little clip I recorded on my phone. But if you want to take that extra step, what you can also get is an external microphone that you connect to your phone. So what I have here is, let's do a little unboxing here. So this is the Comica CVM microphone, also linked in the description. And what this is, I'm not going to unbox it here. Actually, I'm going to play you a little clip. But you can put this on your phone and you will get high audio quality, and that's really important for good video. So actually, instead of showing you this, let me play you a little clip just to show you exactly how it worked. I'm going to switch scenes, and then we're going to play a little clip. So this is actually a recording that I made yesterday at my comedy show. You can see my water bottle there, my gray card. So here's my iPhone, and on top of that iPhone is that Comica microphone. It's mounted on a shock mount, and it's connected with a cable into the iPhone. This is an old iPhone, so it has a headset jack right there. So something like this is really going to level up your audio significantly, just because you get a higher quality microphone like that. And if you ever want to send your set to like a comedy producer to apply for a show, it's a really good idea to have good audio of your performance. There, by the way, you can see how this the setup of my comedy club. You can see the two speakers. Anyway, let's come back. So that microphone is also linked in the description. So definitely do record your set, even if it is just audio, because it's going to be so helpful for you to remember how it actually went, and that will then help you improve, which is very important. Let's go over to the next point. I'm going to have a quick look at my notes here because we're talking about recording. Yes. So one of the questions that we're going to talk about, should you ask for feedback? But before that, I just want to finish this thought about recording with your phone. And I'm going to play you just a few seconds of a clip here. And that's actually going to be one of my comedy sets. And you can see what kind of quality or not quality you can get with the phone. I'll just play you this, play this for you, and then I'll be back in maybe a minute or so.
My name is Markus. I love roller coasters. I have ridden 167 roller coasters in 38 different amusement parks in 13 different countries. And there's a name for people like that. Roller coaster enthusiast. Another name is sexually frustrated. The way to be a roller coaster enthusiast is to join a roller coaster club. Now, you might be wondering, is there really such a thing as a roller coaster club? This is a question I often get. Honey, there are dozens of roller coaster clubs. But yeah, you might have an objection. You might be thinking, Markus, you're cool. But I don't think you're cool enough to actually join a roller coaster club. I think you're lying. So today, I brought some proof. I have my Roller Coaster Club membership card.
Show us your card.
I have the Roller Coaster Club membership magazine. And I got my Roller Coaster Club membership t-shirt. This is Party in Poland, European Coaster Club May.
All right, that's enough of the roller coaster enthusiast bit. So that recording was made with my phone, and it's okay, right? The audio quality, because this was with the internal microphone, the audio quality is not excellent. The video quality is also not excellent because I didn't have the right exposure, but at least I have a record of how that set went, and that's the most important thing with the recording a set. And let me know let me know if you have any questions about that in the comments. The next topic I want to touch on briefly is should you ask for feedback from the other comedians when you're performing? It might be tempting for you to get their feedback, but do not expect that they will give it to you for a very simple reason. They probably don't remember your set. If you're going to ask somebody for feedback, make sure to ask them ahead of time so that they can actually take some notes. Some other comedians may provide feedback to you, incidentally, by themselves without being prompted. And you should take note of it, but you don't have to follow everything. However, if it is an experienced comedian and you are just doing your first set or your first 10 sets, for example, they probably know what they're talking about. So So I'm a little bit ambivalent. Should you ask for feedback? Yes and no. What's more important is to listen to your recording and listen to the audience reaction, because the audience is always right. If they laugh, it was good. If they didn't laugh, it wasn't good. And then you need to improve. So if you're going to be asking somebody for feedback, just make sure to check with them beforehand so that they actually pay attention. Because most, especially at an open mic, most comedians are there working on their own material. So they are probably not even paying attention to you. You are not special. That's the key message here. Another mistake is that I do not recommend that you ask a friend to hold your phone. It's much better to get a proper tripod like this. If your friend is holding your phone, then they can't really enjoy the show as much. So it's much better to get a nice stable recording on a tripod like that. Let's go to, so that was step number 3, perform and record your set, and then rinse and repeat. Take the good jokes that work really well, do them again 3 or 10 times to improve them. And if a joke doesn't work at all, it could just be a bad idea. But I usually give that 2 or 3 times before I scrap it. So definitely don't be discouraged by one audience reaction as well. As a reminder, you can actually, let's go back to that. If you want to check out my comedy course, go to comedyforbeginners.com, which is my stand-up comedy for beginners course, where you will learn the basics of doing comedy. If you do have any questions, please put them in the chat. But I will also recommend another video for you in just a moment. Let's see which. This is the one bit that I didn't prepare, right? You know what? I'm going to recommend this video for you. For more stand-up, let's do it like that. Let's do it like that. For more tips on how to do comedy, click or tap the screen right here. There's another excellent video right above me here about how to get started with stand-up comedy. My name is Markus. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.